soon as they graduate. Ed, of course, graduated from Lyles College of Engineering on campus at Fresno State. Saw him yesterday at Selden Arena in the stands, so we will get to that as far as the schedules go a little bit later on. Two other reminders. One, we always want to thank the local operators at KFC, and we're talking then about those in Fresno, Clovis, Selma, and Kerman for their support. Talking about an international company when you talk about our good friends at KFC, but in this case, it is the local operators that really make it work for us in this area, and we are very happy to have them aboard as sponsors, and want to remind you one more time that they have the tremendous deals going on in all of the honey barbecue flavors still in place for a limited time. They have great deals on the 2, 3, and 4-piece meals. You also have the Tuesday $10 8-piece bucket deal in place. You've got the Wednesday country fried steak, and they have the chicken pot pie, the great KFC chicken pot pie for $4.99 right now. So tremendous deals at the local KFCs in Fresno, Clovis, Selma, and Kerman. If you stop in to pick up a bucket or two, tell them thanks for supporting athletics throughout this valley of ours. And then the final reminder, speaking of support, comes from someone who has supported Fresno State for 3+ decades now, and that's Joe Cruz, Superior Pipe and Stainless Supply. Joe has been, as a native son of the Valley, a great fan of Fresno State for a good long while, and celebrating right now the 25th anniversary of his fine business, Superior Pipe and Stainless Supply, over at 4529 North Marty Avenue in town, Suite 103. You can always reach him at 266-7473. That's 266-PIPE. Joe is there. Gabe works for Joe, is on site. More information on the web, superiorpipeusa.com, or Gabe has a direct email, gabe.sbs@gmail.com. Pipe fittings, valves, sanitary fittings, food-grade chemical hoses, suction hoses, all there under one roof. Family-friendly business. If you're someone working around a valve in any way from an industrial standpoint, meaning could be at a plant, a maintenance person, might be around a boiler, could be a delivery service, anybody. If you rely upon a valve for your productivity, if it goes down, your business can go down with it in a big hurry. What Joe can do, if he can stop on in or give him a call, can analyze your situation, keep you up and running so it doesn't take that catastrophic turn to your bottom line. If you stop in to see him, after he addresses your issues, if you have a few minutes, he will tell you what he has done for Fresno State, and would recommend right now that you head to the website at gobulldogs.com. That is the main website for Fresno State. Right at the top, you have two critical links there. The donate link and the NIL link are both up there at the very top of the header. If you click on the donate link, it'll take you to different areas of donation. The BDF is there, Bulldog Foundation, celebrating its 75th anniversary right now. You also have Myers Champion Circle, Green Bee Society is there, Club Red. You have a Valley Co-op. You have the sports clubs, so a lot of ways to give. And under that header of sports clubs, you can give your money directly to a given team. For instance, Quarterback Club for football, Timeout Club for men's basketball. Jack Fertig talked with me every Wednesday about basketball, and Jack, on the board of directors, would love to see more folks jumping in to join the Timeout Club, particularly younger members. I know, as he's mentioned, we're skewing a little bit old for the Timeout Club these days. So any younger members, Jack said, call Jack directly, or really anybody, at 559-287-3305, or you can hit him on his email, vertigjack@AOL.com. It doesn't cost a lot. It's a great social network, and also it supports Fresno State basketball. Any sport you choose, there is a link there for you. For instance, Dugout Club for baseball and other men's and women's sports as well, under ways to give. The final reminder is there are other links there. For instance, the NIL link, which is very, very important, as I think people know by now, beginning last July, they take everything in-house, so it's very important that if you want NIL involvement, you contact the university about it now. And also, under the one header of more, it'll just take you to more information about tickets and parking for all events on campus. So we thank Joe Cruz for, again, allowing us the time to tell you how to donate to Fresno State, and thank Joe for his support of the university. Thanks to Ed Dunkel, of course, Precision Civil Engineering, everybody at Lee's Plumbing, Heating, and Roofing, and the local KFC operators in Fresno, Clovis, Selma, and Kerman. All that having been said, we turn to our longtime friend and longtime voice of your Bulldogs, who is just coming off a very busy week and will be headed to Arkansas pretty shortly. It is Paul Leffler. Paul, how you doing?
Doing great, Tony. Enjoying the sun peeking through the clouds here. Cold in the shade, nice and toasty in the sun. Yeah, it has been a bit of a whirlwind lately, and looking forward to visiting Little Rock this week with the Bulldog basketballers, see what they can do. Hats off to Coach Entz and company for keeping that Valley Trophy where it belongs, getting win number 8. Looking forward to them going for number 9 of the bowl game. And I just got to say, yesterday was a special day. I know it was a bummer of a finish in a winnable game, but it's hard to explain the Bulldog spirit that was so palpable in downtown Fresno for the first time in a long time. And, there were 2 things. You've heard me say before, and I know some people may get sick of me saying this, but I really believe we need to be reminded of this from time to time, that we live in a special place filled with special people. And yesterday, in my mind, Fresno State's 2 greatest assets were on display in downtown Fresno. And that's the people of the Valley and the alumni. To see guys like Rod Higgins and Tyrone Bradley and Bobby Anderson, Carl Ray Harris, Dave Barnett, Damon Jackson, Travis Demandy, Brandon Baki, Larry Hendrickson from back in the 60s. Just the list goes on and on. To see all those guys, to see what it meant to them, for them to have the opportunity to get back together just with each other, but to be celebrated by the Red Wave, hearing them talk about what the human tunnel used to mean to them, and some of those great moments that they were part of, seeing the fans have a chance to gather the way they did, stir up some of that nostalgia. A lot of conversations today have been, well, how do we do the human tunnel at the St. Mark's Center? How do we get that same energy over there? And I think that's the whole point. I can see this, expanding and growing year to year with more accents. The city's putting in a new video board there at Selland, so next year you can incorporate that into a lot of the elements of it. But it was a feel-good day. And I think younger fans learned some history. Older fans revived relationships. It was just a fantastic day, not just for Fresno State, but for our community. And I think hopefully a taste of even some more exciting things to come.
Well, there's no doubt, Paul, that the different infrastructure around Selland. First of all, when Fresno State left, and you're aware of this, left for SMC in the early 2000s, real close to just gutting Selland Arena. I mean, they had really torn down a lot of the infrastructure inside, and they've done a really good job, the city, as you mentioned, and private monies as well, to bring it back to being the facility that it's viable to watch. We know the high schools are there, and as I've said, growing up around that place, I mean, I was in the first event at their first event ever there, and certainly have seen and called so many different games. I've called roller derby there, Paul, which is not something everybody has been able to say on their resume. Okay, I'm not so sure that's a proud moment, but that was there. So it plays, and I've said this about Selland before, particularly when it was at 6,600, its original capacity, but even after expansion, there's not a bad seat in the house at Selland, and I mean that not only from sight lines, but the comfort of the seating, because it was an old-style arena. It wasn't built to put 16,000 seats in. It was built for creature comfort. It's one of the really great venues to sit and watch an event. It was an unfortunate finish not last night, but late yesterday afternoon. And I know that Bakersfield says, hey, we're part of the Valley too, so the Valley team did win, just the wrong one. But it was nice to see, but what it also pointed out, Paul, was 4,500 fans or thereabout at Selland makes it sound like you've got a huge crowd there. 4,500 at SMC, not the case. We knew that when SMC was built. It was built for the projection of having crowds of 10, 12, 15,000. We've seen it on a couple occasions when Stanford came in with the Lopez twins, that kind of thing. I'll ask you, Paul, what is it going to take to get there for Fresno State? I mean, winning, and winning, is that all there is to it?
Well, no. I think we can eliminate that because we've seen winning teams that didn't fill it, right? I mean, Rodney Terry
Well,
has some good teams. Justin Hudson's first team.
Depends on what you're defining, Paul, as winning. I mean, let's back up a second. Successful teams, yes, but as far as nationally prominent, no, not since it was built. We have not seen that on a consistent basis. That is the issue I'm asking about.
And that's going to be really hard to pull off, Tony. I mean, it's going to take a steady progression to get there because the money has changed. I mean, it's to be, San Diego State's been an exception to the rule. That's a program that's been able to get in the national rankings, to be able to go deep in the tournament all the way to the championship game. Gonzaga is coming in the league. If a rising tide lifts all ships, then maybe there's a possibility. But if you want, in today's day and age, where you're not trying to find the diamond in the rough and develop them, where you can't rely on recruiting the best local talent, I mean, that's one of the things I was reminded of yesterday. We did an extra hour pregame coverage out of Tioga Sequoia. Thanks to the folks there. They were wonderful. Phenomenal turnout. It was a who's who of Fresno down there at Tioga Sequoia. Club Red did a great job, the BDF. And Iris Levesque, Tark's former secretary, I think just relentlessly called so many alums, and she's a big reason that so many of them turned out, and they were thrilled that they did. But you had guys from the 60s on into, the last decade that were there, and you see some of the guys who were phenomenal players who could have gone a lot of places but stayed home to play for the Bulldogs, guys like Carl Ray Harris and Dave Barnett, and then, of course, you got that Chicago pipeline, and T-Bone and Bobby Anderson and Rod Higgins came on with us, and those stories were phenomenal. Danny Tarkanian and a bunch of guys from his era. But, if you can keep all the local talent home, maybe you can do it without the huge NIL budget or revenue share number. But that's what it's become today. It's no longer about let's develop young men, let's have them for 4 years, and maybe you're going to get that team every once in a while with a little experience, a whole lot of cohesion, and enough talent to make a tournament run. Now it's what can you buy? What's your budget? And, let's go take a player somebody else developed and hire them, mercenary style for a year. That's what college basketball has turned into, even more so than all the other sports. So to expect that Fresno State is magically going to have a top 25 team when there's 150 or 200 schools in the country that are spending more money on their roster, that's kind of ludicrous, Tony. I mean, it's just not. That's not the game they're playing anymore. But what you can do is build over time. You can generate momentum. You can keep local kids here. You can recruit well. You can have an identity. You can play matchup basketball and out-coach somebody and win. I think you're always going to need a coach and a coaching staff in every sport here. Fresno State's never going to be the have, right? I mean, maybe you can increase budgets, and I think there are a lot of people that want to see that happen. And hats off to the boosters who have contributed their hard-earned dollars to make Fresno State more competitive. But I don't foresee a future where you're looking at Fresno State spending what Ohio State or USC spends on any sport. So you have to do it a different way, and you have to have a coach who embraces that. Because if you have a coach who thinks, I'm just going to wait till somebody gives me a bigger, playground to play on, I don't think that's going to happen here. And again, I'll say what I just said about the game yesterday. It was a reminder, what are our greatest resources? It's not unlimited financial wealth. It's the people, and it's the alumni. And that was so palpable yesterday, so evident. And how can Fresno State build on that? In every sport across the board, I think that really has to be a part of the formula. And that's how you fill up the arena. So you give people a reason to be there. And you make it fun. I think Fresno State's looking at building on-campus dorms. That can make a huge difference. That's what these other schools that have the great student sections, a lot of those students aren't driving to the game, they're walking to the game. And at Fresno State, it's just really hard to pull that off for now. But when you have dorm and walking distance, when you change the atmosphere inside the arena, when if there are things about Selland and that atmosphere that you liked yesterday, figure out a way to replicate them or come up with something new at the Save Mart Center to make it the place to be. And I think that's been the challenge for all these years, but it's not an impossible challenge. And the other thing I want to say, Tony, is playing a game at Selland is not about the Save Mart Center. It's not about a comparison. It's not about a competition. It's about engaging the people that you need to engage. There were so many people there yesterday that I hadn't seen in a long time, so many people that hadn't seen a single Bulldog game all year, and now they've seen one. And hopefully they had a good enough time that they're going to follow the team over to the Save Mart Center when they finally play another home game at the end of December. But, it's about connecting with the community. That's the whole point of this whole thing, right? Developing young people, giving them a leg up in life, and engaging your community to make the Valley a better place to live for every Bulldog fan. And each individual sport is just a vehicle for those priorities. And it's so easy for us to lose sight of it. But I think when we keep that in mind, every sport has the potential to grow. The university and the athletic department as a whole have the potential to grow. And it's okay to do it differently than other people do it. The Valley's a unique place. I think we all love that. That's why we live here. So let's not, throw away our distinct advantages trying to be like everybody else or feeling like we have to do it the same way as somebody else. I think yesterday was a reminder of there is great history here. There is a connection to the community, and you're stoking the embers of something that could grow into an inferno again. And I'm looking forward to the progress on that path.
And Paul, when you're talking to me, you're preaching to the choir because I'm someone who grew up immersed in it, obviously, not only professionally for 50 years now, but even prior to that, a kid, 8, 9 years old, it was at Selland Arena. What I see, and I know that you're well aware of it, is, everything you say is true. You have different generations that have come up that certainly do not have the same emotional tie to Fresno State that you would like to see across the board. And this is a challenge that I think we saw with Measure E and that I hope can be overcome. And I brought this up the other day, and it's a topic we'll get into at another time at length because I do want to get the football here. But as I mentioned, as a kid going to Selland Arena, initially it was great, and then things were not so great on the court, and it got to a point where the Bulldogs were drawing so poorly, sometimes 500 fans for a game on a Saturday afternoon because the then Fresno Aces, they were the precursor to the Fresno Falcons, had priority to have a 7 o'clock hockey game on a Saturday night, for instance. And it ended up with Fresno State having to go back to the North Gym. This is at the time called the Men's Gym, and that was not renovated until 1987. So in the mid-'70s, to go back to that gymnasium, it was a dark, dank, depressing place. And that's where your basketball program was. And then when Boyd Grant came around, suddenly, very gradually, we all started to say, wait a minute, something's going on with this team. You're back at Selland Arena. Now crowds are starting to grow. And as I had mentioned, with a 6,600-seat facility and no internet, no local TV, etc., if you wanted to know what was going on, you had to get your rear end down there. And that resulted in people of my generation down there in person to watch games. And then it became, as you're referencing, Paul, not only must-see activity, but it became a social entity where everybody liked to be down there and be seen and be around. I'd like to see the generations now feel that same feeling of closeness to the team, and it wasn't about whether the team was going to win a national championship or even make the NIT. It was a cause celeb and something to do. I'd like to see it now at SMC, as you're mentioning, independent of the venue. But I do have to ask you, Paul, since you have raised kids at this particular time, the pulls of social media, how tough does it make it to get kids to pay attention to what my generation used to pay attention to mandatorily when we didn't have those outside avenues or distractions all the time?
That is one of the quandaries I think everybody's trying to solve. But I think sometimes it's if you can't beat them, join them, and you create social media initiatives that, do this at the game, you win a prize. And, if you have to post your selfie at the game and someone's going to win something and it's a pretty good prize, all of a sudden people start posting selfies at the game. I mean, that's just one little example. There are a lot of ways I think you can bridge that divide, but also you come up with something that's compelling enough to get their eyes off their phone. And, cell phones aren't going away, but I think there is a chance at a bit of a pendulum swing. There's actually a local author who's sold a lot of books about a digital detox, and especially with young people, how important that is. So I think there'll probably be a little bit of a pendulum swing away from the complete obsession and domination of smartphones, but I think you can have a multi-pronged approach. You can create a product and an environment that is what keeps someone's attention, and you can incorporate some of those little tech elements into the experience itself. So, again, it's not one against the other. It's anything that strengthens that connection between the community and the program is a worthwhile pursuit. Because without the community, there is no program, bottom line. And we can never lose sight of that. It's easy if you're inside the bubble to get desensitized to that reality, but that is, I think, the most important reality any leader in higher education at the college level needs to keep in mind.
Well, there's no question yesterday to see guys like Rod Higgins, who are not only great players, but friends for a long time, to see them there and so many, that was just, for me, it's because of conference championships in football. It's on SEC Plus, and that makes it a little tricky. So those that have access will be able to catch the game. If not, I know, Paul, you guys, of course, will be there radio-wise, but it'll be a very interesting day to see how this team responds against a team that's lost only to Michigan State and to Duke. That's what Calipari has going right now. So it should be a very interesting day on Saturday. I did want to mention to Mark and to Rick P. and to Robert P. and to Steve and Clovis Dave. Guys, I will get to your emails. Mark, your delineation of what both football and basketball needs, I think, is right on the money, and we'll try to get to that over the next few weeks. Paul, I wanted to ask you, because it was long-term, I want to ask you, Paul, about how this football season, at least regular season, finished up. It's likely it's going to be the Arizona Bowl. That's not definite. That game, by the way, is on December 27th on a Saturday on the CW at 1:30 in the afternoon our time. We'll see if that's where they end up at. I wanted to ask you, Paul, about football in this regard. The unforgiving nature of the non-divisional play, and we talked about it, even if Fresno State would have beaten Utah State, given everything else played out, it appears the Colorado State game probably would have cost them. It's not a certainty, but it looks that way. Are you satisfied with how this season ended, or was this as though it was a very solid year, and I'm talking about in the regular season? Was it a what might have been or could have been year, or did this team hit about its baseline? How do you feel about it?
Well, that it's hard to articulate maybe exactly how I think everybody's feeling, but I do want to say one more thing about basketball, because you brought up the Arkansas game, and some fans might be saying, well, man, they can't beat Bakersfield with the biggest crowd of the year. How are they going to win in Little Rock against Arkansas? Remember what we talked about all season long, Tony. This team, when it's shooting well, can upset somebody. They went 1 for 12 from 3 in the second half yesterday. That's not the norm. If they're making 40, 50% of their threes, let alone have a hotter shooting night where they make 9 or 10 threes in a half, they can pull off some major upsets this year. There's no doubt in my mind they're going to win a couple games that you go into thinking they've got no chance. The flip side of that is the other part, right? That's how they gave that game away yesterday, up by 11 turnovers, and the shots just didn't fall. And that, coupled with Bakersfield only missing one free throw, I've never seen a team only make one three-pointer, and they tried 15 of them, but only miss one free throw. They were 23 of 24 at the line. It's just unheard of. But that was what happened, right? But I wouldn't count them out in Arkansas. They may go and lose by 20. But if they shoot the ball well, they may have a chance of pulling something off late. So it's going to be compelling to be there and watch it. For football, 8-4, I think going into the year, you said, yeah, that sounds solid. But when you saw the way the season played out, when you saw them win a couple games, I mean, no one gave them a chance to go beat Boise State after they lost that Colorado State game. But the defense went there and dominated, and the offense did enough. I'll say this, Tony. Absolutely, this 2025 Fresno State defense was a championship defense. Look at where they are nationally in takeaways, in total defense, in pass defense specifically, in interceptions, and, even in scoring defense. Phenomenal defensive year. Nick Benedetto is one of the hottest up-and-coming defense coordinators in the country, and I'm sure he's going to have opportunities to go elsewhere if he wants. I'd love to see him stay in this community. Right? I think he loves it here. His family loves it here. He's a rock-solid individual, and that defense did a phenomenal job. The worst game for the defense was the Colorado State game. They'd love to have that back. They weren't themselves. They didn't tackle right. I don't know if having a short week or altitude had anything at all to do with it, but they just didn't show up. They weren't themselves. But, man, wouldn't you like to have that game back? Wouldn't you like to have the second half against Utah State back? And if both of those games go the Bulldogs' way, Fresno State's hosting a Mountain West Championship this Friday night, and we would have 40,000 people in the stadium. There's no doubt in my mind. So this team wasn't too far from doing that this year. And I don't bring that up to make people disappointed in the outcome, just the opposite, to say, hey, that's how close the Dogs were this year. You change a couple little things. And Coach Entz, I'm sure if he were on you right now, would say, well, that comes in a lot of forms. That comes in nutrition. That comes in revenue share, people supporting the program. He wants to be a developmental program. That's a year-round proposition. It comes in retaining the players that you need to keep around. I mean, think about the impact if somebody like Josiah Freeman gets an extra year because he only played 4 games last year, or Cam Braca if he gets another year. Just the guys that have options to go elsewhere who are younger players. Look at the way Simeon Harris finished the season. I voted for him first team all conference. I thought he was one of the best defensive players in the league the last month or two. And, he could be a senior captain for you next year, a real leader on that defense. There are a lot of things. You have to keep the players who are here. You bring in recruits. And, the bottom line is, while the offense did some great things and situational execution on the road in Corvallis, certainly in Honolulu, those are some big-time wins that could have been losses. But if the offense had been a little more consistent, I think we're looking at, Valley Children's Stadium hosting a Mountain West Championship on Friday. So that's what drives you. That's what you're in the business for. There's no doubt that Coach Entz, 8-4, looks good, and he's okay with it, but it's not what he knows this program is capable of. So he's not going to quit until he sees this team and this program get closer to its potential. You look at 8-4 and just take those 2 games I just mentioned, Oregon State and Hawaii. If Hawaii gets that 2-point conversion instead of Simeon Harris deflecting it at the goal line and Hawaii wins in overtime, if Oregon State has a long snapper that can actually complete a single snap, maybe the Dogs are 6-6. So as easily as they could be 10-2 and hosting a Mountain West Championship, it could have gone the other way. I mean, that's part of it. That's just how football is. So I think fans should be pleased with 8-4. I think they should see a lot of things, the way Coach Entz has engaged the community, engaged the alumni. I mean, those challenge coins that all the alumni had and their legacy tunnel they formed for senior night, great new tradition to start at Fresno State. So he's not erasing any of the past. He's embracing the past. He's adding things. He's building for the future. On Wednesday, we'll see, the next wave of talent that's coming in terms of signing day. Then we'll have another wave of it when the portal opens in early January. And, let's see what happens next fall. Bulldogs open at the Coliseum against USC. I'm sure we'll see 20,000 red waivers down there against the Trojans. But, they were close this year to making it a spectacular season. Winning 8 games is a good thing in college football. Winning the bowl game, as Pat used to talk about, building a better bridge to the future. And I think you saw, for the most part, a lot of young men who had a lot of fun along the way doing it. And let me just give one more shout-out before I end my ramble here. Dylan Lynch. So gratifying to see him, finish the regular season with a flawless performance in San Jose, crack the all-time top 5 scoring, and be named Mountain West Special Teams Player of the Week today. It's such an unforgiving position, and he's had a couple tough days as a dog, but he's a great young man. He's from the Valley. He represents Bakersfield and his family in the program class. And let's not forget, when he was a little freshman who barely played, he came in and executed the most pivotal play in a championship season in 2022. So seeing Dylan do a little hard work today was fun to see.
Yeah, we had talked about that after the onside kick against San Diego State, that he should have had a statue immediately constructed as an homage to him, because the only people more surprised than the crowd at Valley Children's, the Aztecs themselves, because as you know, they were, after the INT, they were very busy celebrating what they thought was that certain victory that turned out to be a loss and was the game. And that's the reference point Paul is making. Without it, the Bulldogs do not go on to win the championship that year. They would have had no chance. And he has, I know it was a tough finish last year. We talked about the bowl game, and he has been just rock solid through the vast majority of this year, and he is a really good guy, as you mentioned, Paul. One thing, Paul, I did want to bring up, and this is, we talk about this over and over again. I've mentioned it over the last 50 years on air, that the thing that drew me to sport, I think, is what draws most of us to sport, the unpredictability of it. It is something that can energize you. It can also emotionally tear your heart right out of your chest. But it is that high wire act that has always been the great appeal for me, and that is, mention this, people that love movies or scripted television, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm a big fan of it. But you know, by and large, how it's going to turn out. You know, good is going to supersede evil on almost every occasion. The guy is going to have the girl emotionally right there, and he's going to lose her, and then he's going to get her back at the end of the movie, right? That's always how it works. In sport, it's not always that way. There is no justice in sport, and because of it, it is a roller coaster ride without the safety bar down. And I bring this up because of the unpredictability of sport. You have things happen like this. Fresno State beats Boise State 30-7 on the Smurf turf. Paul, at that moment in time, if somebody would have said to you, one of those two teams will be hosting the Mountain West Championship game, you tell me who in the world would have said, oh, yeah, Boise State. Now, I don't like it, but it is, Paul, the reality of sport. It just, the old Joaquin Andujar line, the outstanding and somewhat mercurial pitcher of the St. Louis Cardinals, who said, when it comes to baseball, it's always one word, you never know. All right. Well, Paul, I would say when it comes to sport, it's always one word, you never know. How in the world could you beat a team 30-7 and they not only end up in the championship game, they end up hosting it? Isn't that what drives us crazy? And also, if it's your team, enthralls you about sport?
Yeah. And Tony, you and I have had so many conversations like this over the years, and I'm just thinking about, the difference between a computer and a person with a brain and common sense. And AI has come a long way, and it's downright scary how capable AI is. But let's just hypothetically say that the Mountain West had set up a CFP-style committee that would only come into play if a scenario like this ensued, where you've got a multi-team tie and they didn't all play each other. So no, a team that went 2-1 against its opponents can't be better than a team that went 0-2 in the other tied portion. So, we can't figure that out. We've got to let a computer tell us who's the best team, and that's based on so many meaningless things. Point spreads and perceived strength of schedule, which is, as we've talked so often through the RPI and net ranking era, can be manipulated, in ways that don't make sense. But if you had a committee, you remember when the college football committee said Florida State didn't belong because the quarterback had gotten hurt, despite the season the Seminoles had had? I mean, that's what Boise State is right now. They're a shadow of them former selves. Now they find a way to pull it out against Utah State, and hats off to them. They did what they needed to do. But you know what? New Mexico did the most impressive thing. The Lobos were playing the first-place team. All the Aztecs needed to do was win that game, and they're hosting the championship game. And New Mexico not only prevented that from happening, won its sixth straight game, got its ninth win, and made the most powerful statement anybody could make when everything was on the line that they deserved to be in the championship game. And the computers can't feel that. They can't see that. They're looking at a whole season and saying, oh, but you only scored so many points against so-and-so. Oh, and yeah, you won at the Rose Bowl against UCLA, who beat Penn State, but UCLA only went 3-9, so that wasn't a good win. And that the computers can't feel, Tony. And anybody who knows football and who's followed the season knows that that's not the right matchup in the conference championship game. So I don't fault the conference because they didn't expect a four-way tie, which could have been a five-way tie or a six-way tie. And they did, their best to create a system that would be fair. But unfortunately, we've seen a couple times now. San Jose State was in a similar situation a couple of years ago. I thought absolutely deserved to be there, didn't have the opportunity. So it's just unfortunate when you see players who go into a game saying, this is what we need to do, and they do it, and then they get the rug pulled out from under them. So, I'm so happy for my friends in Albuquerque. This is a season that they haven't had in forever. They're over the moon happy, but they have a right to be really, really upset. More so than San Diego State, because the Aztecs know, hey, we win that game, we're hosting, and they didn't get it done. The Lobos did everything they needed to do and still didn't get rewarded for it. And other teams who didn't do it all got a reward I think the Lobos deserved. So as someone who's just wants to see things decided between the lines and not by a stinking computer, that's frustrating. But, so last year in the Mountain West, hopefully the Pac-12 comes up with some better scenarios than that. And again, everyone working on it, Tony, is not operating in any ill will. They did everything they can to create the fairest system, but, the system's flawed. And all you can do is try to, when you see those bugs that you didn't anticipate, make sure they don't get you again. And let's give credit to the Mountain West, right? When Fresno State had that crazy situation where they had beaten Boise State, but then had to travel to Boise for the championship game, the conference made a change and said from now on in that scenario, the team that won the head-to-head gets the host if they have the same record. And that was the right move. So, hopefully, scenarios like this lead to better changes in the future.
I agree, Paisan, completely, and you're also right. It's not Fresno State I'm talking about. It's a school like New Mexico who drew 30,000, 27,000 and 30,000 the last time, a renaissance in Albuquerque, and they deserved it. They deserved a better fate than what they've been handed. But I know the computers spit it out, and that's how it goes. And it is beyond just a small touch of irony how it worked out. That's for sure. Hey, Paul, I appreciate it. Listen, hope you and Q have a very safe and successful trip. I'm looking forward to Saturday for the reason you cited. This team, speaking of mercurial, this basketball team is just that. When they are, as you mentioned, hot from three, it's a team that can hang with most anybody. When they're not shooting it well, they can lose to teams that they probably shouldn't lose to. Going to be very interesting on Saturday. I look forward to it. Paul, I appreciate it, my friend. Have a great one. Tell Q I said hello, and we'll certainly be in touch. Take care.
Thanks, Tony. All the best.
All right, guys. Paul Lepper, take a break, come back, talk about the schedule, hand it off to Phil, and it's Major Wager Monday tonight. Granite Park, it's Victory Grill, Cedar and Dakota. Very important game for the white-hot Patriots. My goodness, the Patriots and the Broncos. Well, nobody was looking. These teams are suddenly good again. We'll tell you about the schedule right after this as the Bulldog Hour continues on this Monday on Central Valley Sports Leader, 1430 ESPN.
At Helena Agri-Enterprises, we're committed to helping you make the best agronomic decisions for your farm. That's why we combine cutting-edge technology with superior product. Helena's agri-intelligence solutions use in-depth analysis to identify potential problems in the field before they take root. Combined with a complete line of high-quality crop production and crop protection inputs, Helena has the tools to help you increase productivity, enhance performance, and maximize your return on investment. Contact your local Helena representative or authorized dealer to create the right plan for your farm with Helena Products and Agri-Intelligence Solutions.
We started like you, a small team with a big dream to serve the Valley. 20 years later, FFB Bank is still proudly backing businesses across California and beyond. We've learned a lot about what it takes to grow, and now we're using that experience to make things easier for you. With our Switch and Save offer, we'll cover up to 90 days of payment processing, provide no-cost equipment, and offer competitive rates so your business can keep more of what it earns. And behind it all is a local team that truly understands your goals and is ready to help you reach them. Make the switch, save with FFB. Visit ffb.bank to get started. Member FDIC, Equal Opportunity Lender.
On game day, don't just settle for weak snacks. You go big, like a boss. The Butcher Boss brings you the kickoff platter, stacked high with man-sized, fully cooked meats. Tender sliced tri-tip, fall off the bone, pork spare ribs, smoked sausage, fiery jalapeno poppers, already sliced, already prepped. This Sunday, don't just watch the game, own it with a kickoff platter from the Butcher Boss. So call today to pre-order yours. The Butcher Boss, 41 south of Riverstone.
One of the most important keys to success is teamwork. Just like the Bulldogs football team, Fresno Rack has assembled a great team of their own. An industry leader in warehouse pallet racking and industrial warehouse shelving, Fresno Rack is truly your full-service one-stop shop. In-house CAD permit department, in-house installation crews, and of course Fresno Rack's sales team is second to none. Whether you're looking to just fine-tune your warehouse and make it more efficient, or you're building a new warehouse and need a turnkey from start to finish, Fresno Rack is here to help. Call, click, or visit Fresno Rack today.
Craving big flavor? Head to Me and Ed's Victory Grill in Fresno. Bite into the legendary Victory Burger, dig into the fall-off-the-bone ribs, or share the ultimate Victory Platter with friends. From those legendary Me and Ed's pizzas to fresh salads, cold drinks, and a warm hometown vibe, every bite and sip is a win. Watch the game, catch up with friends, or bring the family. Me and Ed's Victory Grill in Granite Park, Fresno. Don't miss ESPN's Major Wager Monday Night Football every week. Come hungry, leave a champion. Victory tastes better here.
Fall is here, and it's time to get moving at Valley Athletics. Phil Bonatti from Behind the Bench telling you about new programs coming up. Starting soon, you can sign up for monthly memberships for K through 8th graders working on volleyball, basketball, and strength and agility. It's as little as $15 per class. Speaking of sign-ups, the great facilities there are always available for rentals, including birthday parties. So take advantage of that today, especially as we get to those colder months. You can find all the sign-up information on the website, valleyathletics.co. Valley Athletics, developing the athlete in everyone.
Hi, buddy. Welcome back to 252. 3 or 4 minutes ago on the show, handed out to Phil outstanding to Behind the Bench. Normally 3 hours, 2 hours on a Monday because of Major Wager Monday. Down the home stretch now in the National Football League. Critically important games, and the Patriots and the Giants tonight. Very important for the Patriots, who have been white hot and are likely back on top of the division. The unexpected surge beyond Buffalo and everybody in the AFC East. That game will kick at 5:15 tonight on ESPN television. We'll have the Westwood One broadcast for you. Carter and the gang out at Me and Ed's Victory Grill, Cedar and Dakota, Granite Park. Great time. The terrific food of Me and Ed's Victory Grill. Great conversation and, of course, giveaways and a lot of fun. So stop on by and see Carter, everybody there. Tonight, Bill will lead things up until 5, and then it'll be time for that game coverage. As far as the upcoming schedule and specificity for both 1430 and 790, it's brought to you by Ed Dunkel and our great business partners at Precision Civil Engineering, Planning, Land Surveying, Civil Engineering, Landscape Architecture, Construction Management. All they're under one roof, 449-4500 or precisioneng.net for more information. It has been a great fundraiser for the Lyles College of Engineering on campus at Fresno State. The goal always to unify athletics and academics to provide more funding resources to students. It's worked beautifully. A lot of those grads go to work for Ed at Precision. By the way, I mentioned Ed was there front and center. Prime seats yesterday for the Fresno State, Cal State Bakersfield game. A lot of the dignitaries were there yesterday as well. As far as the lineup goes, I mentioned what's going on 1430 with the football game. The Lakers and the Suns, 7 o'clock, 6:45 the pre over on 790 tonight. That's part of the Peacock doubleheader. If you have Peacock, you can get that. Tomorrow it's on NBC, the games, as you have, games on Prime Video now on NBC in addition to ESPN and ABC. Lakers playing great ball. I think they're going to bubble wrap LeBron if they can and get him ready for mid-April. If they can limit his usage and he can be healthy, with the team really belonging now to Luka, the Lakers are a legitimate threat, and of course the Thunder are out west right now. They won in Portland after being down at halftime last night. They'll play the Warriors tomorrow at Chase Center. That's part of that NBC doubleheader tomorrow. By the way, we'll see that late game, and the Thunder, may actually threaten the Warriors 73-9 the way it's going. So it's going to be a very intriguing week of basketball, and we have the Lakers for you. The Sharks playing much better. They're coming up later in the week. We mentioned Macklin Celebrini has been a revelation, and the Sharks might actually be competitive again over 82 games. We're going to find out as the season unfolds. Remind you about the schedule in regard to the shows. I mentioned that Phil normally 3 to 6 with his fine show Behind the Bench, including Thursdays at Fashion Furniture with our good friend Rod Avediki. And again, best furniture on the planet, nothing like it in all of California. Great sales going on right now during the holiday season, so check that out. El Paso across from River Park. Also, if you stop in to see Phil in person, you can ask him a question or give him a call on the Lee's Air hotline, which is 559-320-1430. Paul Metters has 2 outstanding shows, one on 790, Sunbird Sports Show, all about Fresno Pacific Athletics. That's 6 to 7 on Wednesday evenings on our sister station, the Deuce 790. And also Paul has a long-running and outstanding show on 1430 on Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. to noon, live from First Ring Sports. That is Central Valley Sports Report. We are with you at 2 o'clock each and every weekday. You can reach me, TDAD1 at att.net. TDAD, the number 1 at att.net. First names are fine. Everything for the station, 1430 ESPNFresno.com. You find the live links and podcasts there. Get the app. Makes it a lot easier to listen to everything throughout the day. Then finally, I want to thank our other sponsors. First, everybody at KFC in Fresno, Clovis, Selma, and Kerman. Really great to have them aboard. And again, they're still in the midst of the throwback to the late 90s right now, which means honey barbecue flavor on everything. They have deals for their chicken sandwiches, their tenders, and, of course, those crispy golden pieces you know and love, the 2-, 3-, and 4-piece dinners on sale. You've also got the Tuesday $10 8-piece bucket. You've got the Wednesday country fried steak. You've got the pot pies on sale for $4.99 right now. So a great chance to stop by the local KFCs in Fresno, Clovis, Selma, and Kerman. And as always, the food there is finger-licking good. Also, thanks once again, everybody at Lee's Air Plumbing, Heating, and Roofing. And one more reminder about that Lee's Air hotline. Call Phil, 559-320-1430. Thanks, of course, to everybody at Joe Cruz's Great Business Precision Civil Engineering is Ed Dunkel, and Joe Cruz also at the game yesterday. And Joe with everything Superior Pipe and Stainless Supply, anything you might need from an industrial standpoint. You can always give Joe a call at 266-7473, which is 266-PIPE. And thanks, as always, to everybody who joins in for